Let's talk about stance and the importance of stance to gunfighting. All fighting for that matter. One of the things that a proper stance enables you to do is to drive the gun, to really keep the gun in control, to keep the sights on target where they need to be, to enable you to fire multiple shots rapidly. Let me give you a demonstration. If I stand upright, my knees are locked, my skeleton is holding me up. If I fire one shot, I'm going to hold the pistol in recoil. You can see the muzzle raised about 3 inches. For me to fire another accurate shot, I'm going to have to push the gun back down on target, reestablish my sight alignment before I can press the trigger again. Whereas, if I just bent my knees slightly, unlocked them, so now my skeleton isn't holding my body up, my muscles are. My muscles act like springs. I put my ears in front of my shoulders in front of my hips. I'm leaning very slightly forward. Not an exaggerated lean, just very slightly forward. I'll fire the same single shot, watch the muzzle and recoil. The muzzle hardly rose at all, and because I'm held up muscularly, and remember muscles act as springs, my muscles put the muzzle right back on target automatically. Another way to demonstrate the effect that stance has on muzzle rise and control of the firearm is by using a laser to illustrate how much the muzzle is actually moving. So I've got this M6 light on here, and we'll try firing a few shots at the target. Now if I use a good combat stance, fighting is fighting is fighting. Whether it's with a stick, a knife, a pistol, or your bare hands, the stance is going to be the same. Stance is not something that you stay in. Stance is a position that you start in or move through. And a good way to understand stance is to think about how to stay balanced. And I have this stick which is about the same width of my shoulders. I'm going to draw a box on the ground here using the dimensions of your shoulder. That's the box. That's the box we're going to start in. The toes of your left foot will go in the upper left-hand corner of the box. The heel of your right foot goes in the bottom right corner. My feet are now shoulder width apart in both directions, side by side, front to back. This gives me a good amount of balance. It also is the natural position my feet are when I walk. So once again, this is not where I'm going to stay through the entire fight. This is where I start. I move through this. Once I have my feet properly positioned, I can take the next joint up, which is my knees, and I'm not going to have them locked. I'm going to have them unlocked. Before I can move, I have to unlock my knees. Now, if we're just standing around, we tend to lock our knees because we're lazy. And by locking our knees, I'm now being held up by my skeleton, and it doesn't require as much energy expenditure on my part to stay upright. If I unlock my knees, now my muscles are working. So this is not quite as comfortable, but it allows me to immediately move without having to first unlock my knees. In fighting, as in life, movement is critical. Stasis is death. So while I may start in this position, I'm not going to fight from here. This is just where I'm starting from. So I may need to take a step back. And when I do that, I'm still going to be in the same position where my feet are shoulder width apart in both directions. No matter how I move, when I'm done, my feet are going to stay in the box. Miyamoto Musashi says in his Book of the Five Rings that you should watch the mountains and the valleys. And what he was saying is that you should watch an opponent's shoulders and elbows because they tell you everything you need to know about the enemy. If you notice, if I have my knees locked and I need to move, if you watch my shoulders, if you watch the mountains, they're going to have to dip as my knees unlock so that I can move. So just by watching my shoulders, you know what I'm going to do next.